Our topic, learn to act as if you are unstoppable, may seem, at first glance, a bold and perhaps even audacious directive. Yet as we delve deeper, we shall find that it encompasses the very essence of faith. Let us begin by considering what it truly means to be unstoppable. Is it merely a state of relentless action, a bulldozing through obstacles with sheer force of will? Or is it something far more profound, more transformative? I submit to you that to act as if you are unstoppable is to align yourself with a higher purpose, to tap into a wellspring of strength that goes beyond mere human capability. In my work, Mere Christianity, I wrote, aim at heaven and you will get earth thrown in. Aim at earth and you get neither. This principle applies beautifully to our topic today. When we learn to act as if we are unstoppable, we are not merely aiming at earthly success or achievement. We are aiming at something far greater, the fulfillment of our divine potential, the realization of our highest selves. But let us not be naive. To act as if you are unstoppable does not mean that you will never face obstacles, setbacks, or moments of doubt. As I wrote in the Screwtape Letters, indeed the safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts. The same can be said of the road to mediocrity, to a life pathless. It is not the dramatic failures that most often derail us, but the slow erosion of our conviction, the gradual acceptance of limitations that we have no business accepting. So, how do we learn to act as if we are unstoppable? It begins, I believe, with a profound understanding of our own nature and potential. As I wrote in The Weight of Glory, there are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, arts, civilizations, these are mortal, and their life is to ours as the life of a gnat. But it is immortals whom we joke with, work with, marry, snub and exploit. Immortal horrors or everlasting splendors. When we truly internalize this truth, that we are not mere mortals, but beings with the potential for everlasting splendor, we begin to see our capabilities in a new way. We begin to understand that the limitations we often accept are not inherent to our nature, but are rather self-imposed or accepted without question from the world around us. This brings us to an important point. The power of belief. As I wrote in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, once a king or queen of Narnia, always a king or queen of Narnia. In the same way, once we truly believe in our own potential for greatness or unstoppability, that belief becomes a part of our very identity. It shapes our actions, our decisions, our responses to challenges. But belief alone is not enough. To act as if we are unstoppable requires courage. It requires the willingness to step out in faith, to take risks, to face our fears head on. As I wrote in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, courage. Indeed, courage is the bridge between belief and action, between potential and realization. Consider, if you will, the great heroes of faith and history. Did they not act as if they were unstoppable, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds? Noah built an ark on dry land. Abraham set out for an unknown land. David faced Goliath with nothing but a sling and a stone. These individuals did not merely believe in their potential. They acted on that belief with unwavering courage. Now, some might argue that this mindset of unstoppability is a form of hubris, a denial of our human limitations. But I assure you, it is quite the opposite. To act as if you are unstoppable is not to deny your humanity. It is to recognize that within our humanity lies a spark of the divine, a potential for greatness that far exceeds our own limited understanding. As I wrote in The Problem of Pain, we are not metaphorically, but in very truth, a divine work of art, something that God is making, and therefore something with which he will not be satisfied until it has a certain character. When we act as if we are unstoppable, we are cooperating with this divine work, allowing ourselves to be shaped into something far greater than we could have imagined on our own. But let us be clear, Acting as if you are unstoppable does not mean acting recklessly or without wisdom. As I wrote in Mere Christianity, there is but one good. That is God. Everything else is good when it looks to him and bad when it turns. Our unstoppability must be rooted in virtue, in a higher purpose, in a desire to serve something greater than ourselves. This brings us to an important distinction. The difference between being unstoppable and being unbreakable. To be unstoppable is not to be immune to pain, to failure, to moments of doubt. It is rather to have the resilience to keep moving forward despite these challenges. As I wrote in The Horse and His Boy, do not by any means destroy yourself. For if you live, you may yet have good fortune, but all the dead are dead alike. In our journey to learn to act as if we are unstoppable, we must cultivate this resilience. We must develop the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to learn from our failures, to grow stronger in the face of adversity. This resilience is not born of hardness or insensitivity, but of a deep well of inner strength, of an unshakable faith in our purpose and potential. Consider the example of a tree in a storm. The tree that survives is not the one that stands rigid and unyielding, but the one that bends with the wind, that adapts to the pressure without breaking. So too must we learn to be flexible in our unstoppability, to adapt to changing circumstances without losing sight of our ultimate goal. Now you might be wondering, but Lewis, how do we maintain this mindset of unstoppability in the face of real-world challenges and limitations? This is a fair question, and one that deserves careful consideration. First, we must understand that being unstoppable is not about denying reality, but about changing our relationship to it. As I wrote in The Great Divorce, there are only two kinds of people in the end. Those who say to God, "Thy will be done," and those to whom God says, in the end, "Thy will be done." When we act as if we are unstoppable, we are aligning ourselves with a higher will, a greater purpose. We are not saying, "My will be done regardless of reality," but rather, "Let me be an instrument of a higher will, capable of transcending what seems possible." Secondly, we must cultivate a mindset of growth and possibility. As I explored in The Abolition of Man, we make men without chests and expect of them virtue and enterprise. We laugh at honor and are shocked to find traitors in our midst. In the same way, if we limit our vision of what's possible, if we fail to nurture our chest, our heart, our courage, our conviction, we cannot expect to act in an unstoppable manner. This growth mindset requires us to constantly challenge our own assumptions about what we're capable of. It requires us to push beyond our comfort zones, to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than threats to be avoided. As I wrote in Prince Caspian, you come of the Lord Adam and the Lady Eve, and that is both honor enough to erect the head of the poorest beggar, and shame enough to bow the shoulders of the greatest emperor on earth. We must remember our noble heritage, our inherent dignity, and let that knowledge embolden us to reach for greatness. Thirdly, we must learn to harness the power of imagination. As I wrote in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, courage, dear heart. This courage often begins in our imagination, in our ability to envision a future beyond our current circumstance. When we can vividly imagine ourselves overcoming obstacles, achieving our goals, and living out our highest purpose, we create a blueprint. But let us not mistake this imagination for mere fantasy. As I explored in The Pilgrim's Regress, reason is the natural order of truth, but imagination is the organ of meaning. Our imagination, guided by reason and rooted in truth, becomes a powerful tool for shaping our reality. It allows us to see possibilities where others see only obstacles, to find creative solutions to seemingly insurmountable problems. Now, as we delve deeper into this concept of acting as if we are unstoppable, let us consider the impact it can have not just on our individual lives, but on the world around us. As I wrote in The Weight of Glory, it would seem that our Lord finds our desires not too strong but too weak. We are half-hearted creatures, fooling about with drink and sex and ambition, when infinite joy is offered us, like an ignorant child who wants to go on making mud pies in a slum because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offer of a holiday at the sea. We are far too easily pleased. When we learn to act as if we are unstoppable, we raise the bar not just for ourselves, but for those around us. We become living proof of what's possible when one refuses to accept artificial limitations. We inspire others to reach for their own greatness, to tap into their own wellspring of unstoppable. Consider, if you will, the ripple effect of a single individual acting as if they're unstoppable. How many lives might be touched? How many others might be inspired to shed their own self-imposed limitations? As I wrote in Mere Christianity, good and evil both increase at compound interest. That is why the little decisions you and I make every day are of such infinite importance. Each time we choose to act as if we are unstoppable, we are making a deposit in the bank of human potential, a deposit that grows and compounds over. But let us address a potential objection. You might be thinking, but Lewis, isn't there a danger in this mindset? Couldn't it lead to arrogance or a disregard for others? This is a valid concern and one that deserves our attention. Indeed, there is a fine line between confidence and arrogance, between unstoppability and recklessness. As I wrote in the Screwtape letters, humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. True unstoppability is not about inflating our own ego or disregarding the needs and rights of others. It is about recognizing our potential for greatness and using that potential in service of a higher good. In fact, I would argue that learning to act as if you are unstoppable actually requires a deep humility. It requires the humility to recognize that our strength comes not from ourselves alone, but from a higher source. It requires the humility to continue learning, growing, and improving, never resting on our laurels or assuming we have reached the pinnacle of our potential. As we near the conclusion of our discourse, let us consider how we might practically apply this philosophy of acting as if we are unstoppable in our daily lives. It begins, I believe, with a shift in perspective. As I wrote in The Last Battle, I have come home at last. This is my real country. I belong here. This is the land I have been looking for all my life, though I never knew it till now. When we truly internalize the belief that we are unstoppable, we begin to see every challenge, every setback, every obstacle as an opportunity for growth and triumph. We begin to approach life with a sense of adventure, with the excitement of an explorer charting unknown territories. Start each day by reminding yourself of your unstoppable nature. As you face challenges, big or small, ask yourself, how would I approach this if I knew I could not fail? This simple shift in perspective can unlock creative solutions and untapped reserves of strength. Practice what I call courageous imagination. Spend time each day vividly imagining yourself overcoming obstacles, achieving your goals, living out your highest purpose. As I wrote in The Magician's Net, what you see and what you hear depends a great deal on where you are standing. It also depends on what sort of person you are. Choose to stand in a place of possibility, to be the sort of person who sees opportunity. Cultivate resilience through small, daily acts of courage. As I wrote in the Screwtape letters, active habits are strengthened by repetition, but passive ones are weakened. Each time you push through fear, each time you persist in the face of difficulty, you are strengthening your unstoppability muscle. Surround yourself with others who believe in your potential, who encourage you to reach for greatness. As I explored in the Four Loves, friendship is born at the moment when one man says to another, "You too?" I thought that no one but myself. Seek out kindred spirits who understand and support your journey towards unstoppability. And finally, remember that true unstoppability is not about personal glory, but about fulfilling your highest purpose. As I wrote in The Weight of Glory, the load or weight or burden of my neighbor's glory should be laid daily on my back. a load so heavy that only humility can carry it, and the backs of the proud will be broken. Use your unstoppable nature in service of others in pursuit of the greater good. In closing, my dear friends, let me share with you a final thought from the last battle. But for them, it was only the beginning of the real story. All their life in this world and all their adventures in Narnia had only been the cover and the title. But now at last they were beginning chapter 1 of the great story, which no one on earth has read, which goes on forever, in which every chapter is better than the one before. That this philosophy of acting as if you are unstoppable will be the beginning of your real story. Let it be the key that unlocks a life of greater purpose, deeper meaning, and lasting impact. Let it be the compass that guides you through life's adventures, always pointing you towards growth, towards courage, towards the best version of yourself. Thank you, and may you find the strength, the wisdom, and the joy to act as if you are truly unstoppable. May your journey be filled with triumphs that surpass your wildest dreams, with growth that transforms not only your life but the lives of those around you, and with the deep satisfaction that comes from living out your highest potential. As you leave this hall today, carry with you the knowledge that within you lies a wellspring of unstoppable potential. It is not something you need to acquire or earn, but something you need to recognize and unleash. In every moment, in every decision, in every action, you have the opportunity to tap into this potential, to act as if you're truly unstoppable. Remember, as I wrote in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, once a king or queen of Narnia, always a king or queen of Narnia. In the same way, once you embrace your unstoppable nature, it becomes a part of who you are. It shapes your identity, your choices, your very being. Go forth with courage, with determination, and with the unshakable belief in your own unstoppable nature. Be kind to yourself along the way. Celebrate your victories, learn from your setbacks, and never lose sight of the magnificent being you are. And as you do so, remember that your unstoppability is not just for you alone. It is a gift you give to the world, a light that illuminates the path for others. In choosing to act as if you're unstoppable, you become a beacon of hope, a source of inspiration, a force for good in the world. Thank you, and may your journey be filled with the joy that comes from living a life unbound by artificial limitations, driven by purpose, and characterized by unstoppable growth and impact. Go forth and be unstoppable, and in doing so, make the world a little more unstoppable too.